From this point on in your life, I want you to imagine that you'd make $1 a second for the rest of your time alive. That amount of money is unreal. So many problems, housing crisis, energy crisis, and even decades of research could be pushed forward with that amount of money. Now imagine that for the next 240,000 years of your life. Every second of every year has a price on it, and that price could change the world. Now you can stop imagining, because that's the reality of our world right now. One company controls over 10 trillion US dollars worth of product. They own everything and control everything. This is the story of BlackRock Inc., the threat you never knew existed. Now, for a bit of backstory, BlackRock Inc. is a relatively new company. Founded only in 1988, it would grow and flourish to seemingly own the world. But this was no small journey. BlackRock Inc. was founded by the infamous Larry Fink, alongside a few of his business partners in 1988, and was set up in its early years to oversee and give a platform for asset management for the top 1%. It was inspired by Fink losing over $100 million during his tenure, which gave him the idea to study all of the world's transactions. Basically, it gave billionaires and all of the shadiest people of the world a way to make more money, to trade their shares in each other's companies, and do what billionaires are infamous for nowadays. They were watching the world and taking notes to see what was most popular, and what a successful first few years there were. Only in the first few months, the company had made a profit. Then, in 1989, only 1 year had made 4 times that profit of $2.7 billion. This was a game changer in the investment industry, a real way for safe money making, and this was only proved by Fink's quest to own the world. Over the next decade, BlackRock began to manage more and more assets of shares. They began to own parts of companies they were trading with, and the effect was very noticeable. And in 2004, they had acquired their first company. This was huge for them. The first company acting fully under BlackRock's orders. This attracted more and more attention to Fink and his empire, and even got the attention of other billionaires. In 2006, BlackRock even merged with another fellow billionaire, giving him a 49.5% share, basically owning the majority of the company. But the worst of the 2000s era was yet to come. Then, the 2007 Great Recession. It was one of the last steps on the journey to the top of the food chain. BlackRock Inc., and specifically Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, was contacted by the US Federal Reserve to help solve the crisis, which means they were asked specifically by the top of our government and world leaders to manage all of the money in the world. Now, any lover of the sane and reasonable would tell you that this immediately showed BlackRock's intentions. They began helping the world's top grossing companies. That very same year, they wrote off $130 million of debt for 2 of the world's most successful companies. And at this point, while people like you and me were struggling to eat, wondering what to do during this recession, BlackRock Inc. helped all of their partners in business. And here's why you shouldn't only be scared of BlackRock taking over the world, you should be terrified. Any company out in the world right now works on a system of shares and being able to sell those shares. That's companies like Google, Twitter, Amazon, Disney, and the list never ends. Now, in the top shareholders, meaning the people who own the largest parts of these companies, you can see BlackRock in the top of every single one. Try it for yourself, owning a share ranging from 5 to 6 and even 7% in some cases. BlackRock is everywhere, and with this level of control, they're unavoidable. They choose what we see, what we believe, what we watch, what we eat, where we sleep. They even have massive influences in the TV that you and I watch. They have shares in CNN and Fox, and any amount of money from anyone will promote their message into our homes. Our lives are being sold to us by BlackRock Inc. They even own our politicians, and they lead our countries. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but believe me, it's much closer to reality than you might like to believe. As of 2021, 3 of BlackRock's most well-known employees happen to be in President Joe Biden's cabinet, influencing the very leadership of the United States. But this isn't BlackRock's only history and involvement with the US government. Oh no. In fact, there are dozens and dozens of current BlackRock employees which are or used to work in some of the highest-ranking roles in the US government. This can only mean disaster. BlackRock Inc. is hiring people with influence and insider information on the economy and the monetary state of affairs in the world, and using them to push it further to the top where BlackRock has been sitting. And all of this hasn't even touched on their latest service, named Aladdin. This service handles and oversees over $20 trillion in assets worldwide. This is basically 5,000 supercomputers, all with the singular purpose of calculating the safest move for any investor, to allow for the best possible trading and handling of shares. This is just another way of watching us. Through investment patterns, BlackRock can know what to do. All of this makes Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock Inc., the most powerful man in the world. However, there is another massive controversy Fink and BlackRock are involved in, but one that the world seems to not notice. Something under wraps and which could possibly change the future of healthcare forever. I'm talking about BlackRock Inc.'s involvement in the biggest pharmaceutical companies. BlackRock Inc. and Vanguard, another large multi-billion-dollar company, both own huge stakes in the world's top healthcare providers and pharmaceutical companies. And that means that these two companies control all of the decisions of the world's healthcare providers. These companies, which are simply known as Big Pharma, have a long track record of prioritizing profit over the safety of the world, and the shares held by BlackRock only prove who the real mastermind behind all of these situations are. Just like a lot of things in today's society, it leads back to BlackRock Inc. and its CEO, Larry Fink. It goes without saying that large corporations such as BlackRock and Vanguard can brew panic and scare the public with propaganda because of their iron grasp over news corporations. Some people have even began comparing them to a fourth branch of the US government, a sad reality we have to face. And with these two companies alone, they control over 90% of modern news landscape, making Larry Fink untouchable, a titan and juggernaut of the post-recession, and more importantly, post-pandemic economy. He and his company are the ones to fear in today's society, which can only be described as ruled by media coverage and the supposed news today. Now more than ever, we as people have to think for ourselves, to reject this BlackRock influence and all of this fake news to look for answers ourselves. Larry Fink is a dangerous and mysterious individual, a real-life supervillain whose company cost people their lives and livelihoods, all for the sake of business. Throughout BlackRock's history, we can see its journey from a fairly shady company allowing asset trading between billionaires to progressing to a worldwide menace during the Great Recession in 2008, capturing several companies and investing in large shares of widely influential. They lurk in every shadow. They monitor your every financial move. Because our world today simply runs on money, they have a throne as a media juggernaut. And Larry Fink sits atop that throne, watching his multi-trillion-dollar empire control our healthcare, how we think, and everything we do.